Hello and welcome to Seismic Cinema. So put your feet up on Judas' tombstone, grab some black overalls off an innocent mechanic, and prepare to creepily hide behind hedges, walk out slowly, hide behind washing, and general just be quite creepy and stalkerish for the next half hour.
To be fair, I think is that not how you would Alien?
That's one way to look at it, but that's not the story I'll tell at the wedding. So,
no, I'll be telling it at the wedding.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, yeah. We are joined by another esteemed guest. We have Stu from Stu World Order, who has a absolutely fantastic podcast dealing with comic book movies. It's actually one of my kind of personal favourites. I do listen to it quite a lot. It's usually one of my ones when I'm driving in my work van. Just have it kind of running through, and yeah, so it's a really great format and a really great podcast. But yeah, really good to have you on, Stu. How's it going?
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate hearing that. I am glad you enjoy the show. I enjoy it also.
So we've got, Stu actually kindly agreed to come on because when we first started up, I think was it in our top 10 villains list podcast, Colin had mentioned they'd never seen Halloween, and Stu was right in there to defend the faith. And
yeah, it's not like I was egregiously offended that you hadn't seen Halloween. It's just one of those movies that it's just, you haven't seen Halloween. I want to be part of you seeing Halloween for the first time because it's Halloween. It is, to me, it is the horror movie. Like, everyone should see Halloween. I was just excited. Like, you meet so few people that can genuinely say, oh, I've never seen the first Halloween. So whenever you meet one, you have to be like, I have to be a part of your experience.
And you are today. So it wasn't intentional when we started the podcast, but it quickly became apparent that there's lots of films that me in particular I should have seen but haven't seen. But that's became hopefully part of the charm, and people can join me on my journey into being enlightened.
There's nothing wrong with that. Since the beginning of COVID, when we started doing work from home, I have taken the extra time I have at home to just fill in so many movie gaps that I've had in my life, because prior to COVID, I had never seen, just to rattle off a few, The Shawshank Redemption, Saving Private Ryan, The Exorcist.
I watched both of them last year.
What was that?
I watched Shawshank and Saving Private Ryan like within the last year. So that's
nice. See, you got to catch up on these classic movies. So there's been a ton that I've watched for the first time. Like most of the Quentin Tarantino filmography I've seen for the first time now. You just got to get through movies that are big blind spots. It's fine. That's great. Don't let anybody shame you for what you haven't seen.
It gives us plenty of content to go by anyway. So there's that.
Yeah. But I think it is actually quite a nice moment, because that was probably the first time I actually talked to you, wasn't it? Maybe. Back then.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, I mean, I was interacting with you guys on Twitter for a while there, but I think that's one of the first times where it was like, wait, we have to have an in-depth discussion about this.
And it's taken us. Well, actually, this is only our first year doing this, so yeah, it's our first Halloween. So it's your first Halloween, Colin?
Yes, and we've had a wee bit of a change of plan recently, so we could maybe focus on these kind of films for the next wee while potentially. So before we get too lost in the spookiness, Stu, Paul's obviously introduced your podcast. Are you wanting to just do a wee plug, just explain a wee bit more about what you do on your channel?
Sure. So the podcast is Stu World Order, where we review random comic book movies. I have guests that I talk to. I have a big comprehensive list of movies based on comic books. I have people give me 3 numbers. I tell them what they pulled, and they choose the one that we want to talk about. And we try to have like a nice, fair, balanced system where every movie gets ups and downs, no matter what its reputation is, no matter what we think. We have to give every movie ups and downs. And then at the end, we say what the score is. And in addition to the podcast, I have the website swoproductions.com, where we have new articles, lists, reviews, got some fiction stuff going up on there every weekday.
You're very good at plugging yourself. I was making some notes there.
I know, it feels like I've done so many podcast guest spots that it's just become like a spiel that I have now. I just know how to do it. Talking about my show always makes me self-conscious, because it's like, I'm here to talk about Halloween. Like, if anybody wants to check me out, that's great. That's whatever. But I'm here to talk to you guys and be part of Seismic Cinema. But at the same time, I've had people ask me about it, so it's just a spiel that comes out now.
Can I just ask, I don't know if this is far too early in the game, but could me and Paul please come on yours?
Yes, absolutely. So here's the big, not so big secret about my show. It is October 4th right now. I have all of my episodes recorded up until March. So you guys can come on anytime you want, but the show won't be coming out until next spring. But after we're done recording here, I would love to schedule a time to get you guys on, and we'll get a show. And it just won't come out for a while, but I would love to have you guys on.
I'll put it in my calendar.
Excellent.
Right, so something we mentioned, we said just before we came on air, is our new segment, What Are We Watching, which I actually get quite hyped about to talk about. So, Stu, as our guest, is there any new films or new shows you've been watching over the last few days or weeks?
I'm not a big television watcher. I've been watching She-Hulk, which, has been coming out weekly for the last couple of weeks at this point, I guess. Still a really big fan of that. I think it's my favorite of the Disney Plus MCU shows. I genuinely laugh every week whenever I watch that. It's a lot of fun. And this past week, the newest, new release movie I saw was the horror movie Smile, which I definitely recommend. It's not a brand new concept at all. It's The Ring. If you've seen the movie The Ring, you've seen Smile, but it's really well done. So if you're going to take a good movie, rip it off, and then also do it really well, I can't fault you for that.
Yeah, I seen that in the cinemas just last week.
I saw you fist pump there. Did you agree with you enjoyed it? Good.
Yeah.
I do want to see that. I thought the smile in the trailer looked absolutely terrifying, so I'm going to try and see it this weekend, hopefully, so I can join in the conversation. We might actually review it. We talked about maybe reviewing it next week.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I look forward to that if you do.
And I need you to get a nice big smile, Colin, so we can do a thumbnail for it.
No, I'm shy.
But yeah, it was a good movie, so hopefully you'll enjoy it, Colin, if you go see it.
Yeah, I'll try and get it this weekend, and I'm off for the next 2 weeks, school holidays, so I'll try and get in there.
Nice.
So, Paul, any movies? Well, you've watched Smile. Anything else you've been watching this week?
I've been watching a couple. I've been watching the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary. Was watching American Gigolo with John Carpenter, which is it's actually pretty good. It's like a lot of conspiracies and stuff. Not conspiracies, but like, I don't want to spoil the phrase if you go watch it. But he's just basically like a male prostitute, and he gets out of jail and stuff, and for a crime he didn't commit, and then things around his life kind of fall apart, and people are out to get him for like no reason, kind of thing. And don't judge me, but the missus is making me watch. Well, not making me watch. Kind of making me, not making me, but
spit it
out. So, Pretty Little Liars, the original sin. So I've watched the first 2 episodes of that.
Yeah, my wife loved that show, so I watched a couple with her. I just pop into the living room, and it's not a bad show. It's not. I won't judge you for that.
It's actually not too bad, and the person that's meant to be A in this one is actually kind of giving off some kind of Mike Myers vibes. How about you, Colin? What have you been watching?
I've actually been really busy. So the usual stuff. Stu, I'm watching She-Hulk as well each week. We're actually going to do a season review of that, I think, in a couple of weeks. We've obviously been watching House of the Dragon and Andor. These are the obvious ones. Welcome to Wrexham, I mentioned last week. Ryan Reynolds and his Welsh football team, soccer team. And new things. I've actually watched 2 films this weekend, which is quite a big deal for me. I don't tend to have a lot of time to watch films. So the first one I watched is one we're reviewing next week with a friend of mine from university. Is Shutter Island, which I really, really enjoyed. I just found it really interesting how it was just totally not what you think and how it unraveled. I just found it quite fascinating. I also watched one of those. I tweeted about it actually. It was a straight to Netflix film. It was The Weekend Away. It was about 2 girls that went to Croatia, and then one of them goes missing, and it's all about that. And it's not like a revolutionary film. It was quite good for like a straight to streaming service thriller. So if you've got an hour and a half to burn and you're looking for something quite easy to watch but mildly interesting, I would check it out.
Oh, so that's A Weekend Away?
The Weekend Away on Netflix, yeah. It's not Netflix. Like amazing, but it's decent enough.
Oh, also, Hocus Pocus 2.
Alien loves Hocus Pocus, like the original.
Don't let her watch the second one.
Is it not good?
I'll let you judge for yourself, but I wasn't too impressed.
I didn't enjoy the first one because I saw it like probably 30 years after it came out, so it seemed a bit hammy at the time.
You didn't enjoy it?
No, not really. Alien bigged it up so much. I was like, The new thing I'm watching, I'm really excited to talk about, is something that I've heard about for a while and just never got around to. I've started watching Cobra Kai.
Oh, okay. I watched the first season of that.
And I've watched the first 2 episodes, and I must admit I'm pretty hooked. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. So, I watched a Karate Kid like last year at some point. Again, filling in the gaps, but I'm quite hooked on it. I like the characters.
Was it the original or the Jaden Smith one?
It's the original.
Good.
So yeah, I'm doing quite well. So yeah, that's what I'm watching, and we're also rewatching Game of Thrones. Me and Alien together, just while House of the Dragon's on. So yeah, I've been busy. I've been a busy boy.
Yeah. Also, I think I watched. Stu, have you seen Tenet yet?
No, I did not. I Christopher Nolan, like I really like some of his stuff, but I never heard anything really particularly good about Tenet, so I just kind of skipped it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find somebody that can explain to me, because I feel so stupid watching it. I just can't understand what's going on. Just time and inversion. I just don't understand it. But
well, that's another one. Speaking of, we were talking about catching up on movie blind spots. Just this past January, I watched Inception for the first time, and that's definitely a movie that definitely held up really well. That's one of my favorite things I've seen this year. I don't know why I never got around to it before, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that kind of puts you off, isn't it? A dream within a dream within a dream.
You should check out Looper as well, if you've not seen that.
Oh, I watched Looper again this year because I saw Looper when it came out and I hated it. And I wanted to rewatch it this year to see, like, was I wrong about Looper? And I did like it more when I watched it a couple months ago.
I enjoyed it. Talking about time, it's probably time we got onto the crux of this episode and talk about Halloween.
Oh yeah, Colin's a gatekeeper.
Did you like that segue? Yeah. So I'm the noob here. Seen that this Halloween 1978. I've seen it once, and I've seen it half. What did you say?
You were kind of distorted a wee bit there.
What happened, Paul?
You were distorted.
All right. It's weird because it looks like to me still.
A wee bit.
Not again.
Yeah, you're good. You're good now, but when you started the sentence about Halloween, you were real like choppy.
What are the odds of that? It was totally fine last week.
Maybe you've got a Duff PC.
No, I don't. Just dodgy signal. So yeah, can you hear? I want to make sure you can hear me while I'm speaking right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. It was just for a moment there.
Yeah. So I've seen this film once. I watched half of it again. I was going to watch the second half, then it disappeared. So I have watched it. Happy to join in discussion. You guys will know a lot more than me, but happy to chime in. So Paul said Stu's going to lead this review. That was Paul's word.
The resident expert. So I was going to say, so out of all the kind of Halloween movies that are out, where does this one kind of rank for you in the grand scheme of things?
I mean, this movie ranks highly for me in the grand scheme of all things. It's the best Halloween movie. It's one of my, I mean, it's probably my favorite horror movie of all time. It's in my top 10 movies of all time. Like, I'm not going to let there be any big surprise at the end of this episode if we rank this or anything. Like, I love this movie. You ever see the gif from Love Actually where it's Andrew Lincoln with the cards? It says, like, to me, you are perfect. That's me with this movie. So I've seen it so many times. It's like I said, it's in my top 10. My top 10 like movies of all time. I'm sure it's fluid, but this is in there. I've probably seen this movie more than any movie in the world.
Oof.
I'm really scared that I can't criticize this now.
No, that's fine. Like I completely understand. Like, especially when you don't have a nostalgic attachment to it. Because I grew up watching these movies. Like, I had parents that, like, I was in the single digits watching the Jason and the Michael Myers movies. So I have the emotional attachment to this. And I can still appreciate watching it, how good it is. But if it doesn't resonate with other people, I have no problem with that. Like, that's fine. Not everything is for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like this movie, you're wrong, but...
No, don't get me wrong. Paul, you go.
That was on you go. On you go.
Don't get me wrong. I generally did enjoy the movie, and I'm not just saying that to appease you. And I just there was a couple of things, and I might as well just say them now and get them out in the open. I thought the girls, I don't know their names. I wouldn't pretend to know their names, but the girls that were doing the babysitting. Is it
Linda, Laurie, and Annie.
I don't know, but I don't know if it's because I saw it like literally this year. I found their acting really kind of cheesy, kind of over the top. I don't know if that was just a signature of the time, but that was how it seemed to me.
PJ Souls and her character's weird proclivity for saying totally like every 2 sentences is really strange. And oddly, it's one of those things like the first dozen times I watched this movie, I didn't pick up on. And then somebody pointed it out to me like, oh, her character just says totally all the time. And now I can't not hear it whenever she talks.
See, I actually quite like that.
They look like 40 when they're meant to be like teenagers.
It's weird. I think people just age differently because I don't know about I forget the name of the lady who plays Annie, but I don't remember Souls and her how old they were. But Jamie Lee Curtis was a legit like 19, and she does. You're right. She looks older than that, 100%.
To be fair, Colin, that's one good back then.
Yeah, that was my main gripe. Really, was that I found the girls acting a wee bit like not great. And they were a bit too old, but that was like my main complaint about the film. So hopefully I'm still in your good graces.
I was wondering if you were going to say, what are the big problems, like not problems, but mistakes in this movie? I was going to say, did you see the wrench and did you see the palm trees?
I didn't see the palm trees, but I was saying to Colin before this, like I'd watched a documentary on Netflix. It was what was it called again? The movies
that made us. Was that it?
That's the one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And we're watching it tonight, and I was like to my missus, I was like, look for the wrench.
When you know it's there, it's so obvious. Like when you know to look for it, as soon as his hand pops down, you're like, oh, there's the wrench. Okay. Do you know what we're talking about, Colin?
I must admit, having only watched it once, I don't quite know what you're talking about. So I would appreciate a wee.
So early in the movie, when he first breaks out of the asylum and he's on top of the car and he smashes the car window with his hand, if you look, like he's holding a wrench, like it's just sitting there in the palm of his hand to break the glass of the window.
Okay,
But
right, I'll look at it.
The paint department did a good job painting it a flesh color.
I'll look out for that then.
And yeah, I will say, I know they're in the background scenes because this is supposed to be set in Illinois, but it's obviously not filmed. They're in the background of some scenes. There are apparently palm trees, but I've never really picked up on that either. Like, I know they're there, but I've never looked for them.
Yeah. The only
cool.
things I wasn't too enamored with. Well, not enamored. It's just it's just like kind of old horror movie tropes where Jamie Lee Curtis throws a knife away anytime she has a chance to finish him off. And I don't know if it's maybe just the sound or maybe just the budget even. Like when Laurie gets like a stab in at Michael, and it doesn't seem to be much impact to it. It doesn't feel like there's like an impact or a gravitas to it. In the movie or in the sound, it just feels like it's just like and then it goes down. But it's only small grade for me. Other than that, I love this one, and it's quite nice going back to this because my first memory of Halloween was watching. What's the one with all the cameras in the house? It's not.
Oh God, Halloween Resurrection.
Yeah, that was my first introduction to it.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah. This is the newer ones, not the newer ones. This is the kind of generation before the new ones, and it's terrible.
Yeah,
like,
I thought the cameras in the house and Busta Rhymes.
Yeah, and Busta Rhymes kills him.
This sounds very confusing. Anyway, if Paul's negativity's finished, I'm just winding you up. I must admit, that doesn't sound great, but I absolutely love the theme. I know that's really an obvious thing to say, but I watched this and The Strangers in Close Proximity. So this starts, it's like they're going past the houses, doesn't it? The camera's panning past the houses. No, or is that The Strangers? Am I mixing that up?
That's The Strangers.
Right, okay. I like that bit anyway. But I did like the music in this film as well. The beginning's horrific. Like, because I thought, you might find this quite interesting because also I didn't have the background, but I thought it was like adult Mike Myers that was sneaking up on the sister. I didn't realize, obviously, and that was obviously how it was designed, that it was the wee boy. When you find out that he just stabbed his sister to death, like, sisters can be annoying, but I'd never do that.
Yeah, her and her boyfriend have the quickest quickie in history, and he leaves. And yeah, I mean, like that.
He wasn't calling her back. See his body language when he left the house. He wasn't calling her back.
He's like, "Don't call me, I'll call you."
Yep. Hump and dump.
Paul, that's your call.
Sorry.
So, I love that scene with I love any scene when it's like raining and dark. I just love the atmosphere it creates, like the escape from the prison. No, it was a prison. It was a prison.
Yeah, the raining and dark was when they were going to the asylum, and all the people were outside, and the nurse is like, "When did they start letting them go outside?"
Yeah, in this maximum security prison.
Yeah.
And they didn't even give them umbrellas. But and did you see in that documentary that Donald Pleasance was absolutely hammered when he was playing that scene?
You know what? Now that you mention it, I do remember them talking about it. And something that Colin won't know so much, like when you watch this movie, after, you get so used to watching the other Halloweens, it's weird how subdued Donald Pleasance is in this one, because as the franchise goes on, he's in 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. And as the franchise goes on, his character just gets louder and crazier. And so when you watch this first movie, he seems kind of like a calm, rational guy. And then you watch parts 4, 5, and 6, and it's like he's a stark raving lunatic.
Yeah, I think I stopped at 4 because I just couldn't. The story was just getting kind of more and more outlandish. Because when I watched like Halloween Resurrection, I was like, fair enough. And then I think we watched the 2018 Halloween.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I watched that and I was like, it's all right, pretty good. But like when they're going, oh, he's a terrible man. He's killed like 9 people, and I was like, only 9, and he's had like 20 movies. How's that worked out?
Yeah, all the weird timelines they have. It's so hard to remember what's going on when, because you had like there was the one timeline that was 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Then there was the timeline that was H2O came out, so H2O erased 4, 5, and 6, and it 1, 2, H2O Resurrections, and then 2018 came out and it erased everything all the way back to the first movie, so it's just Halloween 2018, and Kills. And it's just like, why did we need to do this? We had a perfectly good, steady timeline of movies. You didn't have to confuse me.
This is like trying to explain the Star Wars timeline to somebody.
It's more like the X-Men timeline.
Yeah. It's
I actually had to watch a YouTube video on that to figure out what was going on.
Here's Michael Myers' Days of Future Past. Here's Michael Myers' Age of Apocalypse.
That was something I thought. See, like, how did Mike Myers not die in this film? Like, there was so many parts towards the end where I was like, yeah, that it's becoming a wee bit unrealistic now. Like, the last time he gets up, it's like, nah, that surely should have been the end.
It's weird. The timeline is always weirdly ambiguous as to whether he is straight up magical or just a really tough guy. In the next movie, in Halloween 2, he gets shot in both eyes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And exploded. And then he comes back in Halloween 4 with no explanation. It's just like, he's fine.
Yeah. And doesn't Donald Pleasence get blown up as well? And he comes back.
Yeah. Dr. Loomis gets blown up and he comes back and he just has like some scarring on his cheek.
I'm glad you pointed out that Pleasance was Dr. Loomis, because then I wasn't quite sure who you were talking about.
Oh,
yeah. I would watch Halloween 2, Colin, if I was you, because I actually quite liked Halloween 2, the one in the hospital.
Yeah. Halloween 2 is interesting because you watch this movie and this movie's relatively bloodless, right? Like there's a lot of, he kills some people, but there's no blood spatter or anything like that. It's pretty tame kills. They're more designed to create tension than be gory or anything. And then 2 years after this movie, the first Friday the 13th came out. And the year after that, they made Halloween 2. And you can see how inspired by Friday the 13th Halloween 2 is, because they're like blood all over the place. Everybody's bleeding. All the deaths are more gruesome.
Yeah, the kills are more creative.
Yeah.
I'll watch Halloween. I'll try and watch Halloween 2 this weekend then, and I'll hit you up. Hopefully it's still on Netflix.
Yeah. Stu, what did you think of the Rob Zombie Halloween movies?
There are good aspects to them. I think the casting and the acting are great in them, but the stories are... Like, the first one spends way too much time on Michael as a kid, and I just don't care. Like, I think the back half of that movie, when it just starts retelling the 1978 Halloween, is really good. But the first half of that movie, when it's all about him as a kid, the kid's just obnoxious. And he's not like scary. He's not like, oh God, this kid's going to be a mass murderer. It's just like, oh God, this kid just needs slapped. And I didn't think he was intimidating or anything. And then in Halloween 2, again, that one actually starts really strong. It has like a very extended dream sequence to open the movie, which is great. And then you get into like, the white horse, and it's just like, why? No, I don't understand.
Yeah, because I was watching the Rob Zombie, the first Halloween, and I think I only got about halfway through it. I was just thinking, it just seemed like vulgar for the sake of being vulgar. Like it was just like swearing and just like there's so much like it was just unnecessary, I felt. And I was just like, I'm not really enjoying this because there's not much happening. It's just more shock effect of what's been said and stuff rather than actual entertainment.
Yeah, the first half of that movie is very vulgar and like Rob Zombie just showing like this white trash family and how scummy they are, and it's like, all right, I don't really need this.
Yeah. But we'll swing back to the good Halloween movie now. We'll swing back.
I will run any horror movies by you guys before I watch them. Then I'm getting very close to being able to do a top 10 now. Horror movies.
Well, that's good. That's good. You get 10 good ones. That's all you need.
By the way, Paul, I don't know if you ever saw Nope, but I wasn't a big fan. I don't know if you did see it in the end.
I didn't. No, I've not seen it yet. I've seen reviews and that of it, but I don't think too many people are so impressed.
Because I love Get Out, I looked forward to it so much, and I was really disappointed. But anyway, that's a total aside. So back to, you talked about some of the deaths. I thought one that comes to mind is the one in the car.
Annie.
Yeah. I thought that one was very intense. There was a lot of, you saw it coming obviously, but it was, I remember that bit because she kind of like, her face like, ends up at the window, doesn't it? Window of the car. And she's just looking very, very shocked.
Yeah, I like the idea that, you know, you have this image of like middle America where like everybody's a very tight-knit family, but even in the 70s you have this movie where like somebody's blaring on a car horn and nobody comes out and checks, and then Laurie's running around screaming for help and everyone's just shutting their lights out.
They were quite annoying though, so I don't blame them.
Darn kids, get off my lawn.
It's Halloween, I just want to go to bed.
So there was the whole kind of creeping segment. So there's is that scene at the hedge, is that one of like the most iconic scenes? Because obviously I don't have the legacy with Halloween, but even I felt like I knew about that scene, what he's hiding behind the hedge.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's one of the visuals for this movie that a lot of people just instinctively know is him standing at the hedge and then kind of going behind it.
Mm-hmm. And they're like pretending he's got like an imaginary boyfriend and stuff. Yeah.
I like if you have the mental image of these things, like this is supposed to be a very creepy scene, and it is, the way it's shot, very creepy. But in your head, if you kind of like auto-complete the scene, because you realize how quickly Annie goes over to the hedge and looks, Michael Myers had to slowly creep behind that hedge and then just book it away.
Yeah. There was also a bit where he's behind like the washing in the garden, and that reminded me of the. I kept getting confused with this because I've seen like the new It films, but what I thought I watched years ago, I thought there was like older films, but it was like a mini series.
Yeah, with Tim Curry.
There was a bit where. Yeah, there was a bit where Pennywise was in the garden, like in amongst the washing. That bit just reminded me of that a wee bit.
Oh, okay. It's been a long time since I've seen the Tim Curry It, so I don't recall that. But yeah, I'm sure they probably took homage to this movie for that. Yeah.
That see, my horror knowledge is more in depth than I thought.
See, when I was watching that bit as well, you know, when she's looking out into the washing and she sees him. Like the camera pans to him and he sees him, and then she doesn't break. She doesn't not look up. She doesn't look away or anything. And then the camera goes back and he's just gone.
Yeah,
just like, so did you not see where he went?
Yeah, because the scene where she's at school, she looks away and then she looks back and he's not outside the window anymore. But you're right. The scene where he's down with the laundry, like she never breaks eye contact. He just vanishes, and she's not like, oh, he went that way. It's like, Laurie, you're not the camera. We know you could have seen him.
Oh, he's in the neighbour's garden. It's their problem.
I don't mind a wee bit of light spoilers here, but do you ever get any like, insight into his backstory as to why he's so evil, or is he just like a born evil kind of person?
So this goes back to that whole like there's multiple timelines thing. And in the original, like I said, there's the 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 timeline. It ends up being some weird cult. It's weird. It's this magical cult based around runes that he's like their avatar or something, and that one's weird. And then, yeah, in the Rob Zombie timeline, he's just crazy and he's having delusions about his mother hanging out with a white horse, and he just had this weird white trash upbringing that made him scummy. It depends. Like each timeline kind of has a different thing. And now in the, the modern quote unquote timeline with the 2018 movie, I don't think we really have a backstory on him yet. They seem to imply that all he really wants is to look out his sister's window, and he wants to kill anybody who interrupts him from doing that. So I don't understand. But the new timeline seems to be definitely confirming that he is straight up magical again. So it's just weird. It's just weird.
I don't think I like that. I think I prefer just him being like born evil.
Yeah.
I
think the Avatar thing was a bit.
I'm not like Maybe a bit of a Moon Knight.
But Stu, I don't think Colin knows about the familial connection.
Oh, that's true. Because yeah, it's one of those things you just assume everybody knows. So they establish in Halloween 2 that Michael and Laurie are siblings.
Michael and Laurie are siblings.
Yeah, so Michael kills his older sister. Apparently, when he did that, Laurie was a baby, and they gave the baby up for adoption, and the parents died or left or whatever. And so she got adopted by the Strodes, which is why she has a different last name. But yes, the Jamie Lee Curtis character is Michael Myers' sister. But again, only in some timelines, because again, in the modern movies, in the 2018 timeline, since they erased Halloween 2, they did away with that. They're no longer related in these current batch of movies. Are you following this? I feel like I should be drawing like a bracketed chart for you.
No, I'm following you. It does seem very convoluted. It seems a wee bit like when they decided that Leia was Luke's sister like later on. So at least they didn't have an awkward kiss scene that I don't know about.
Yeah, I think when they made Halloween 2, they were trying to come up with, like way back in 1981, they were like, why was this weird psycho guy just fixated on her? Why was he following her around Haddonfield all day? So they decided to be like, oh, that's his baby sister. And he just wants to kill all his sisters, I guess. Like you do. I don't have sisters. I don't know how that works.
Yeah. No, I've got a sister. I don't ever get those urges now.
Not yet.
What's that?
Oh, said not yet.
Nah, Claire's cool. Hi, Claire, if you're watching, which you won't be. I'm not a fan of either of those two things. What's that?
Said just in case she is, she needs to watch her back a wee bit.
I'm not a fan of either of those two things, like Laurie being the sister and him being magical. Nah, it's a no from me.
I liked it, because when they came out with the idea that she's his sister, that was Halloween canon for like 40 years. So I like that idea, and they've done a lot with it no matter what timeline you're in except for the current one. So I like that idea. The magical thing is weird. Like you get these franchise killer movies, and Jason was the same way in the Friday the 13th for a while, where it's like his damage soak is unrealistic. And so they had to come up with like, well, he's undead. And then with Halloween, they had to come up with, well, he's basically just magic, just accept it. Because they need to come up with a reason on like why stabbing him in the neck with a sewing needle didn't just like kill him.
I guess that does make up for my earlier criticism of the fact he doesn't seem to die.
Oh yeah. No, but I was going to say something. I totally forgot it. Oh,
well, while you're having a moment, there's another scene. I really like the scene with when they're like shouting at the car and calling him a creep, and then the car just stops.
Yeah,
I quite like that scene.
What did you think of another one of the kind of iconic visuals of this movie when he pins the guy to the wall with the knife and then he kind of does the head? What'd you think of that? Did that work for you? Because that's another one of the more, like I said, iconic moments here.
To be honest, I don't remember that clearly. Because the way we do these reviews, different bits are coming back to me. Like I remember one bit I do remember is when they start finding all the bodies in the different cupboards and stuff, and like somebody's like behind the door, someone's in the cupboard. Am I right there?
Yeah,
So
when Laurie's in the house.
But it is funny how like not in a particular order, but different like scenes are like coming into my head just as we're discussing them.
Yeah. To be honest, I think on Twitter, I think somebody talked to you about Halloween, and I remember you saying something about you liked that bit where he gets, I think it's Poor Bob, isn't it?
Yeah.
He gets lifted up and stabbed into the kitchen, and he's just hanging there. I'm pretty sure you wrote on Twitter about that ages ago. No, not ringing any bells, Colin.
Is this me you're talking to?
Yeah.
No, because there is a slight lag, so it looked like Stu was like agreeing with you, like he did it. So yeah.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Okay, well, it doesn't really sound like something I would say, but yeah, I'll pretend it was.
Or I think you said the death was brutal or something, maybe.
Yeah, no, that bit was quite memorable when all the bodies were appearing. Is there a scene earlier in this? I feel like sometimes I combine different movies in my head. Was there a scene earlier in the movie where there was like somebody getting bullied, and then somebody comes to protect them, and then somebody pees their pants? Am I making that up?
I don't think anybody pees their pants, but yeah, Tommy's getting bullied by the other school kids, and then when he walks away from them, he actually bumps into Michael. Michael doesn't protect him; he just kind of bumps into Michael and then like walks away. I don't think he pees his pants.
I know what I combined that with. I combined that with Stranger Things. Remember the bit where they make the bully pee their pants? Don't know why I'm saying pee their pants. That's not phraseology I would ever use.
Is there better terminology for that? Urinating your drawers? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So, is there any other big scenes or minor criticisms or anything we want to highlight?
You mentioned the theme earlier, so I assume like you're a fan of the score of this movie, because I mean the music in this is just phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think this is like the best use of an original like instrumental score in any movie. It's just so effective, and there's different variations where there's the kind of music that sounds like the heartbeat, where it's like da-da, da-da, and then there's the Halloween theme everybody knows, and then there's the more thing where it's just like kind of piano keys. Oh, it's just John Carpenter. If nothing else came out of this movie, just the score and the use of music is phenomenal.
It's really frustrating because I genuinely, before this discussion, but more so afterwards, I really do want to rewatch it, particularly in the lead up to Halloween. So I'll need to find a way, or I can just watch some other films and watch it another time.
Yeah, it's quite like you were saying earlier. So it's quite a weird one because like I think when everybody thinks Halloween, they think it's just a total kind of slaughter fest, but in reality it's only, was it 5 people die in it, and like you're saying,
yeah,
no blood.
I mean 2 people just get strangled to death. Annie and Linda both just get strangled. Bob gets pinned to the wall. The mechanic dies off camera, and we don't even see him die.
Yeah, and so it's just such a, it's more of a suspense movie, isn't it? Really, it's just so drawn out, and like you're saying about the score, just the kind of wee kind of tinkles when you just catch a glimpse of him, like he's going to be in the scene somewhere, and you're always looking out for him. Which I thought really
that's one of the things we didn't talk about. Is there's so many moments in this movie where it's him or the car that he's driving is just kind of in the background, and the camera doesn't even really pay attention to it. It's just creating that sense of dread when you notice it, that he's just kind of always there.
Yeah. When Loomis appears at the hardware shop and the car's just at the intersection.
Yeah, it comes at the intersection and turns. It's not, the camera doesn't even follow it or anything. It's just like Carpenter's like, you notice or you don't, whatever.
Because Can I ask you a wee question that came into my mind? Because I watched this and the Strangers back to back. How many times can you have that suspenseful moment where we see the character and the protagonist doesn't? How many times can you have that before it becomes too many times within the one film? Is there like a number for you, or does it just depend how it's executed?
It depends how it's executed. I had a slight problem with The Strangers where you talked about how you didn't like how Michael just kept coming back from his injuries. In The Strangers, you're dealing with people that are just human. They're just like, there's no question they're not magical. They're just human. But they like friggin' teleport. That's the only way to explain some of the things that happen in The Strangers. And it just feels like the movie's kind of cheating at points. Cause yeah, like they're right behind the girl. Then she turns around and they're not there. And it's like, well, movie, that's like the Laurie looking out the window and suddenly he's gone. Like, how did they do that? So yeah, I mean, it depends on how well it's executed. The Strangers does really well for a while. And then it kind of hits a point where like it has to make things weird and strange just to keep the plot going.
Because it is suspenseful and you are enjoying it, but I could see some people kind of switching off once they've had like the same sort of thing so many times. Like Aileen, it's just spoilers. My fiance Aileen she found this film quite boring. I sometimes have my doubts whether she pays full attention sometimes when we watch films, but that's a different matter.
Oh, I feel that. My wife spends spends entire movies on the phone, so I get it.
There you go, Paul. Paul, you better hope she doesn't see this segment or you'll be in trouble.
Sorry.
Right, well, I'm schedule guy, and it's sometimes a lonely role, but we're approaching the 50-minute mark, so I've definitely really enjoyed having Stu on, and I really hope we do work together again, if you can call this work. And I've enjoyed discussing a film which actually came back to me. I'm actually quite pleasantly surprised at how much I remembered based on the fact I've only seen it once the whole way through. So.
I've got one more question to ask you.
Sure.
The mask itself, do you find that it gets weirder and weirder and weirder the more the years go? Like the mask gets worse, or is it the original just so good?
It's so, yeah, this is the best version of the mask. But another thing Colin doesn't know is like, it's always supposed to be the same mask, but they don't actually have this one sitting around. So like each movie, the mask looks a little bit different and it's weird. Like I love Halloween 4. I think Halloween 4 is a great movie, but it's the worst mask. Like the hair is slicked back and the expression just looked more surprised. Like this is what Michael Myers should always look like. He looks menacing. There's kind of like shadows on the cheekbones in this one. It's much more menacing as you get along. And then in H2O and Resurrection, you can just flat out see his eyes at all times. Like it's not like dark and shadowy in the eye holes. You just see his eyes and it's just like, that's weird. And it makes him seem less scary. I don't like that.
No. Colin, bonus points for whose face that's modeled on.
Whose face it's modeled on?
Yeah, it's an actual mask of a Hollywood actor.
This is one of those things. It's so weird that you don't just inherently know this to me. It's just one of those things like I just assume everybody knows this, but okay. I want to see if you can figure it out.
Give me a clue.
Science fiction.
Yeah.
Science fiction.
As a Star Wars fan, you have an instant dislike to him. Possibly.
Something Star Trek?
Yeah, we're on the right path.
Spock?
Nope.
Kirk? I don't know a lot of Star Trek characters.
It's a William Shatner mask. It's a William Shatner mask that they bleached white.
So I was right then.
You were right. You got there. You got there in a few steps, so that's pretty good. I thought you'd be a while.
Yeah, we gave you a lot of clues. We led you there.
It's called, in education, it's called scaffolding. It's amazing how much you guys know about all this, and I'm enjoying learning about it. And obviously, when it's something that I'm really knowledgeable about, it's nice to pass that on. But yeah, that was a good tidbit to learn.
No, but you should, if you watch Halloween, you should watch that documentary because it's really quite interesting. Because its mental had such a small budget and they managed to pull it off.
What was it on again?
It was on Netflix.
Yeah, it's called The Movies That Made Us. There's
okay.
a couple seasons of it, but if you go through the list of episodes, you'll find the one on Halloween. And yeah, like he said, the budget for this movie versus what it made is insane.
Right.
Like, this movie was made for so cheap.
I've wrote that down, and I've wrote down the name of your website as well. I'll be completely honest, Stu. Paul takes on the role of being the chief networker, watching all the podcasts, but I did watch your Spider-Man 1 podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I actually know you, I will make sure I'm checking them out moving forward.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I put a lot of work into it. I hope you like it.
Paul drives a lot for his work, so Paul has like long stretches where he can like watch decent length podcasts. My commute's like 5 minutes, or probably 5 minutes maximum, so it's not as easy. But that's why I like having people on, because when you can put a name to the face, it automatically enhances the experience as well.
Yeah, definitely. No, I talk to you guys on Twitter. I listen to your show. It's nice to, like, see you guys on the video here while we're talking and actually get to discuss with you. It's really nice to finally get to do that.
Definitely, and we're really keen to. I'd be really excited to find out what comic book film we can. I'm a big fan of the Kingsman films, particularly the first one.
We've done the first one. The first one's off the list because I did that one, but the other two should still be on there.
But it's a lottery, Colin, so you don't get to pick your three.
Okay, but yeah, we're excited about that. Anyway, we forgot to plug ourselves at the start, so we're Seismic Cinema. We forget to do that every week. We're two Scottish YouTubers who every week decide to focus on something different because we're just learning the ropes. But you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Seismic Cinema. You can also find us on YouTube, and please subscribe because, like, statistics, like 70 to 80% of people that watch don't subscribe. So subscribe, hit the like button, and you can also catch us audio-wise on Anchor, Good Pods, Apple Pods, Google Pods, Amazon Music, Audible, and all the places where you find the podcasts. And that's about us. This is going to come out on Thursday, the 6th of October, hopefully. We'll just say hopefully because we're rubbish at scheduling these days. And next week we're recording with James Patterson, one of my friends from university, a computing teacher, and we're going to be talking about Shutter Island, and I'm looking forward to discussing that as well. And we'll see what else next week has in store.
Aye, Stu's plugging is much better.
You'll get it. You'll get there. You just got to do it more often.
You've never plugged in your life.
The only thing I plugged is my bathtub. That's fine.
I was going to make some kind of bath-related joke, but you beat me to it. So, right, it's 20 to 12 over here in Scotland, so we'll sign out. But Stu, if you stay on the line, obviously we'll still be on the line once the broadcast ends. So,
thanks for listening.
Oh wait,
Stu, no.
Do you know what our slogan is?
I'm bad at listening to the end of episodes, so no, I apologize.
We probably forget it at the end, so Paul will share it with you.
It's the power of murdering babysitters.
It's actually the power of escapism, because we enjoy escaping into the world of movies and TV, but Paul likes to butcher it.
Like the babysitters.
Yes. All right, thank you for listening, and thanks, Stu, for coming on, and make sure you check out the Stu World Order podcast as well.
Yep. Thanks for listening, guys. And thanks again, Stu. Really glad to have you on.
Yeah, thank you, guys.